Just below the surface of everyday life lies the world of Primal. Throughout recorded time, the balance between order and chaos has been maintained, but all that is about to change.
We have two characters, Arella, who is kind of like a goddess character representing order, and Abaddon is a character representing chaos. And Abaddon has decided he wants all of the kind of primal energies in this world for himself. So he has broken some kind of eternal laws that exist between the two of them and has set into motion a plan where he has disrupted the balance of order. As far as we see it, it begins with a character called Jen, who is at a nightclub with her boyfriend Lewis, and Lewis is playing on stage in a band. But we're seeing this character, this huge demon that's actually tracking Lewis, and by the end of the sequence this demon has abducted Lewis and has left Jen lying in a coma. Initially she's just thinking she's in a dream, is she dead, what's going on? And Scree basically pulls her into the world of Primal, which is full of demons and monsters, and she's basically looking for her boyfriend at that time. Jen and Lewis are different from everyday people in a way that they don't even know. They were both taken away as babies into this world of oblivion, and they were changed such that they have become half demon. They have no idea of these abilities that kind of lying latent, and it's only when they're both drawn into the game we see the fact that she has the ability to shift into each of the different demon races.
What have you done to me?
The character that brings Jen into this world is a character called Scree. He appears to be this little gargoyle, but he's actually a much bigger character than he seems, and he is going to be leading Jen on this quest where she has to restore the order in these two kingdoms that have been corrupted. We want to see the relationship with Jen and Scree kind of develop through the game, so that they go from Jen thinking that Scree is this funny little guy.
Except he looks like a fearsome, impressive creature, and you, well, I mean, well, you're you.
Through to the end of the game where she really respects him and has seen that he has this real strength, and there's a real respect that develops between the two characters.
Well, you and the big man made a great team. Don't you think so, Rocky boy?
That we have a very detailed storyline. It's like a movie, really, where there's a lot of different subplots interlacing between each other. The way we describe characters as well, each character has a backplot. You learn about him and they have a depth.
So you've got this big overall story that kind of links Jen into this whole world, and then you've got the little individual stories for each of the different realms that Jen has to go in and put the things to rights because chaos is taking over order.
So Solem is the first realm that you encounter, and it's a world locked in perpetual winter and perpetual night. The world that they live in reflects their fall from grace. They were a much nobler, much more refined civilization, all of which has crumbled into ruins.
We have a race of characters who have a king who is by their natural law is all-powerful. He has to sacrifice himself at the height of his power and pass the kingdom throne over to his heir. What has happened in this kingdom is the son has been kidnapped, so the player is going to have to bring him back to his father so that the king can do what he should do, basically, and sacrifice himself, and the natural law there can be restored.
Altogether, there are 4 demon realms that you will explore in the world of Primal. Solem, Aquis, Aether, and Volca. These are the battlefields you will face to restore order to the world. Learn each realm well, or else. It's a fight for your survival in the world of Primal. As you fend off kings and queens of the underworld, to survive, you'll need not only to master a classic combat system, but you must use your wits as well. While exploring the realms of Primal, you can control both Jen and Scree, and it is up to you to decide who is best for each challenge.
Jen and Scree have both got very different abilities. Jen's abilities are all based around her demon forms, so with each demon form she gets a different weapon, and all her abilities are kind of very focused towards combat and that side of things. Scree doesn't fight at all, so his side of things is much more kind of based on the exploration and puzzles. So he can climb walls, he can jump, he can lift heavy objects. It's very much based around his kind of strengths.
The puzzles in the game are really going to require the player to think about who they should use, really, between Jen and Scree. Sometimes they're going to need to use Scree because of abilities he has, sometimes Jen.
A puzzle that springs to mind is at the start of the first realm you play, Jen hasn't got any weapons at that point, she can't fight, she's not got a knife yet. And then you come across a cave that's got lots of nasty beasts inside that she's not going to go in there because she's going to get eaten. But Scree, being made of stone, isn't particularly tasty looking to these creatures, so he can go through there And then because they're kind of quite beast, kind of wolf-like kind of creatures, they're actually scared of fire. So he goes off, finds a torch, and then brings it into the cave, and then he can keep all those animals at bay so that Jen can go through unharmed. There's more that kind of puzzles we've got.
Avoiding the enemy is not always possible. In Primal, the combat system is reminiscent of classic fighting games.
The combat system is kind of quite inspired by games like Soul Calibur and Tekken. What we wanted to do was capture the essence of a proper fighting game. So we have a full combat system that has all the kind of moves you'd expect: blocks, parries, counter-attacks, combos. So there's a real sort of power, I think, to the combat sequences that we have.
She's got her 4 basic attacks that she has that she just put off if you just hit the button once. But each attack has got a little window of opportunity that you can then go on to do a combo attack. So we've got about 20 attacks for each of the different demon forms that she's got, so it's quite a lot of moves. And the deeper down the combo list you get, the cooler, the more powerful, more impressive looking attacks you get.
And the other thing that I think is a very cool aspect is when you're fighting a character and you get them to a point where they're stunned, you then have finishing moves that you can then do. So each of the different demon forms has different finishing moves that are obviously the really cool ones in terms of, you know, doing some really over-the-top things.
Jen will need all those moves because each enemy is uniquely cunning and powerful.
You try to make all of our enemies challenging in some way. You basically kind of soldier types who just come in and try to pummel you. But then you've got things like sentries, so they've got big shields, so you've got to kind of bide your time and wait for their open moments before you come in and hit them. On top of those kind of things, obviously, we've got bosses as well.
In each of the different kingdoms, we have kind of lead characters who are normally kind of kings and queens, and some of these are going to be allies, but some of them are going to be pretty nasty adversaries they're going to have to face. In the Aqua's kingdom, for example, the king has been mutated from being the good Undyne that he should have been into this kind of horrible mutant monster thing.
Mastering Jen's demon forms and learning how to use Scree are keys to your success in Primal. Can you face your inner demons? When creating richly developed characters in a game like Primal, the voice is just as important as the animation.
When it came to casting the actors for the voiceovers, we wanted to use actors that were really going to get into the parts and really have fun with the characters. They're the kind of people that are really going to bring that character to life.
Well, no.
The poor Undyne Adaro was attacking must have been dead for days.
Well, if he does that to him, just think what he'd be like with us.
With Jen, we needed someone that was going to be able to give us a real warmth to her character, but also be able to really get into the demon side of Jen and really let go and, you know, really sound quite fierce. And
Really did?
Beat the crap out of him? I think the reason that they wanted me is because I played a character called Callisto on Xena, Princess Warrior. So I knew at that point when they liked that show that this was going to be based on a strong woman and there was going to be fighting involved.
Scree was really the toughest character because we wanted a voice which didn't sound like Scree looked, if you sort of mean. So it wasn't like a little guy's voice, or it wasn't a silly voice. It was a voice that had kind of nobility and kind of depth to it. And the only voice we could really think of was inspired by a character in Babylon 5 called Jakar. And this character was played by an actor called Andreas Katsulas.
But I doubt we've seen the last of King Adaro.
So when they conceived of this whole thing in the character of Scree, in their minds, they really heard Jakar somehow in that role, or more precisely me, I guess. So
Been dead for days. It's the Undyne.
Although both of the actors had done TV and film, this was their first video game experience.
It's different working on a video game than a film because you don't have to worry about the way you look. It's not my body, it's not my likeness. It's just my voice, and it's my interpretation of the character. Then I get to act with Andreas, and that makes it brilliant. And so you are acting, you're not just speaking or reading lines.
I wouldn't want to do it without my fellow actor also working with me. I don't think I'd be able to do it as well without this ongoing relationship with Hudson, who's right there, and we really get into it together. So it's like doing a little mini play that no one will ever see.
Fight with great distinction.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing shown to us beforehand as to what the scene will be.
They gave me a breakdown on all the characters, on all the different worlds, and all the different beings in the different worlds.
So we're given that, and then it's just up to our imaginations to, to go with it. And then everything that they draw and animate around that, we see later.
Now that they have a taste of what video games are all about, will this turn them into die-hard gamers?
I've never really come into this century yet, but this might motivate me in terms of my son and my daughter as well. I think they'll both be interested in going through this together, and I wouldn't be surprised if they want me to play along with them.
I bought a PlayStation 2, and I played for 24 hours within a week. My friends were like, you have to brush your teeth, you have to wash your hair, you have to take a shower, and I wouldn't. It's like a drug. I don't know how people play games and go to sleep and get up and exercise or go to work. It's not possible.
Primal carries you into a world that combines demon realms with the present day, so the music had to reflect that. Game director Chris Sorrell dug deep into his personal CD collection.
The music is by a band called 16 Volt, and it's a band that I had some CDs of, and one night I was just listening to them and thinking about the music that we wanted for the game and thinking, this works, this is the kind of stuff we want.
Chris from Cambridge just wrote me an email. I guess he's been a fan of the band for a long time, and just asked me if I'd be interested to do some music for this game, Primal. Of course, I was instantly interested, and it just sort of like blossomed really quickly from there.
Once we knew we were going to work with 16 Volt to provide the combat music, it also gave us an answer to another question we had, which was what would Lewis's band sound like at the start of the game?
Over the past 11 years, 16 Volt have recorded 3 albums and toured countless miles from their home base in Los Angeles.
2, 2, 1. We basically like to call ourselves an electronic punk band. We try to bring the rawness of punk rock and mix it with electronics.
Maybe you can explain, why is guitar players always gotta with their stuff all day?
Sound check.
Not only did 16 Volt contribute tunes from their albums, but they also wrote songs specifically for the game.
It's a mix. We used some stuff off our last record. I think they used like 6 songs off the last record, and I think 3 new songs that we have.
I think we're doing Suffering You is in there. Happy Pill is going to be used. And they chopped up a lot of stuff and used it like in little intros and things like that, which was really cool. Because when we saw it at E3, we were like, oh yeah, that song is from, that bit was from this song, and it was really cool.
Here we go. The 3 new songs I think they used will end up, coming out on a new record at some point. And we actually just re-released a double CD with some remixes on it by Filter, Orgy, Crazy Town. It's a pretty cool CD, and it has some demo versions of stuff we've been working on.
The first time the band got to see the game with their music was at this year's E3 show.
Yeah, we all went down to E3 together and checked it out, hung out with the designers, and those guys are all really cool, and got to play the game for a little while, and they actually came back to our place and brought the game and played it pretty much the rest of the night. It's a great game. Oh, it was rad, man. It was just to see it and see the songs interpreted in a different way. Because when Eric comes up with a vocal line or an idea, I get an idea in my head of what it's about, but then to see it fit in the video game, it worked perfectly. Like the trailer that they were using, they were even incorporating some of Eric's lyrics into the whole story line of the game. There's a part where he says, I'm in love with the devil. And she's in love with me. So his lyrics not only work, but the music itself is hard and driving. And so it kind of feeds the fight scenes. Whenever she gets into a fight, there's the 16-volt music.
16-volt was excited to contribute music to Primal, as they are avid gamers themselves.
Yeah, I play all the time. I'm pretty into State of Emergency, Grand Theft Auto, things like that. Get it out on the video instead of on the street, you know.
Yeah, I play games all the time. We're all game freaks. It's cool. It's really different to be playing a game and hear your music. And know that other people are going to hear it. It's like an honor to be a part of it.
Thank you.